What's up, guys? Ross here, and in this video, I am going to show you some of the mistakes I have made when hiring appointment setters and how you can avoid this your very first time hiring them. It's a natural thing that as your business grows, you need to bring in appointment setters for your agency because it's time consuming and you're not going to have time to do all these things. Now, you've got two choices. You can hire American-based setters, and you can also hire people overseas. And I'm going to give you my experience with both and what I'm doing right now. Initially, I went with the cheaper option, and I wanted to go overseas. And I started hiring call centers, and they would start setting appointments for me. And I remember at first I was pumped. I saw like 20 appointments on my calendar for the day, and I was like, this is great. But people are like, no, they called and said, you're calling at this time and this. And I realized like these were not real appointments. They were just saying, hey, my boss is interested in this. He's going to call you tomorrow at this time. And even though I would provide feedback to the call center, because I wasn't working directly with the callers, I was working with a call center, it never really resonated with them. And I ended up canceling that. So I thought, okay, well, what's the next thing that I could do? And I hired American-based like stay-at-home moms, so forth, and it worked good, but I'm going to give you the caveat to it. It worked great because they were commission only. We paid them $15 for every appointment they set. In fact, I've taught hundreds of agency owners how to utilize this same exact process, and we've helped agencies reach 7 figures with this process. The problem with it is not the appointments, it's retention. Because people in the United States are self-entitled, and it's to them cold calling is not something they want to do forever. So what happens is they might use this for a while to get by, and yes, we have still about 17 of these appointment setters working in our agency, and some of them have been with us over 6 months, but still the majority of people cycle out every month or two. So we had to create this automated process so that way we weren't interviewing and training. It was just all happening through automation, and it worked, but there's nothing like retaining a team. And so I turned my attention back to overseas, and I said, I'm going to try this again, but I'm going to try it different. I'm not going to hire call centers. I'm going to hire people that I feel would be a good fit, and then I'm going to train them. And so I actually initially went through someone who that's what they do for a living is they go and they interview all these people and they find these people, and then then you can hire them and train them, and you pay them a headhunter fee. And she brought me 4 people. Those 4 people actually still work for me, but I haven't needed to hire again because then I was able to say to them, hey, do you know anybody who is looking for the same kind of job, etc. And we've been able to multiply that way. Now we're up to it's over 20 setters in the Philippines, I believe. I have to look. We might have a little bit more than that because we're hiring about 4 to 8 people a week doing that. And I don't manage the call center. One of my ops guys does. But I'm going to give you a couple different things that we've found because it's been working really, really well over the last few months. And so I'm going to give you guys this advice. Step number 1. The initial hiring process and the vetting is very important because it's hard to break traits. Now, this might sound bad, but the reality is if they don't understand what the appointment setter is, the prospect doesn't understand what the appointment setter is saying on the phone, you're not going to get great success and you're not going to have high quality appointments. So you got to listen really good for their English. We have found good success siphoning people from other call centers, for instance, Chase Bank call center, and just offering them a little bit higher of a wage. And so my first step here would be listen to their voice, but not just their voice, but also their comprehension of English. One of my favorite experiences is when we were hiring the first 4. One of the questions I asked them was, I didn't ask them things like, why would you be a good setter? Because everyone's going to come up with a story for that. One of the things I said was, what's your favorite joke? I wanted to hear them come back with a joke to see, are these people, do they comprehend the same thing that I do? Do they have the same kind of humor? And even if it's not the same humor, I really wanted to get an understanding, because where I find a disconnect is your appointment setter might say something, the script, but then when the person asks a question back, they have to be able to comprehend what that question was so that way they can answer it appropriately. Because sometimes what'll happen is the person will ask the question and they don't know the answer, so it's like a talking bird. They just start spitting back things from the script and the call goes south real quick. And so that's one of the things I'm listening for, is how conversational can they be? The secondary tip that I would give you guys: pay them a little bit more than the average wage. So the average wage is about $400 to $500 a month for a full-time call center position in the Philippines. We're paying them anywhere from $600 to $800 a month. And the reason for that is I want them to want to stay at this job. I want them to feel like this is a great opportunity for them. And these guys on our team do, and you can sense it every single day, because when you give them feedback, they implement it. They come from an environment where it's all about paying low as they possibly can for a high volume of calls. And that's something that's hard to break. And that moves us into point number 3, quality over quantity. These guys are typically trained to book a high quantity of calls, not quality. They don't really think much about the conversion. And you need to change their brains on that. And when you do, they actually love the idea that they're booking high quality calls and that they're being judged based off of how the call went, not how many they got at the end of each day. So that's a really big thing for us. We put them all in a group and they all are sharing their stats in real time, and it really ends up being a good vibe. Tip number 4 is you have to be listening to all of their calls. Now, it can be difficult when you have a big team. So what we'll do is we'll actually listen initially to all the ones that have set appointments. Some people might think I need to listen to the ones who are not setting appointments. I need to listen to the ones who are. And then if I have time, I'll go through the other ones, because if someone's not getting good stats, then we'll listen. But if they don't do good, then we may end up having to let them go. But the reason I'm listening to the ones who are booking appointments is because sometimes they'll throw in phrases that don't make sense, but they think it makes sense or it's conversational. I'll give you an example. One of our appointment setters was calling people, and at the very end, they would say, "Yes, my boss would like to help you hand in hand." It didn't fit. It was weird. Made no sense. He thought that it sounded nice. He thought this sounded genuine and empathetic. We had to say, "Dude, please cut the hand-in-hand stuff. It's not working." And he did, and now he's doing good. And we're coaching him through these. Another one is a lot of them use this phrase, by the way, and it triggers for people like this is a sales call. For instance, they might say, "Hello, is this so-and-so? By the way, my name is," and it's like they throw in this "by the way," and it doesn't really make any sense. Like, it doesn't fit. It's like a word whisker that they need to pull out. These are little things that you can only know by listening to the calls and then coaching them through it. I personally have a guy who is full-time here in the United States with a full-time salary, doing nothing all day but listening to their calls and providing them feedback, because it's that important to have this. You can't just throw them out there. And I made that mistake in the beginning of hiring people if the appointments weren't good, just kicking them to the curb. So what you need to know is it's like running Facebook ads. For the first, I'd say, week, you're just getting traffic. And then you got to start optimizing this perfect. Okay. Because if you throw too much at them at once, they're not going to do a good job. So first it's like, okay, we need to get them this. We need to draw out people through these qualified services. They need to know that it's a marketing opportunity. Okay, also, we need to make sure we're trying to get to the decision maker. So you layer these things on people over time, and then they eventually get really good and you're coaching them. But if you quit with them after the first week, all you did was hire somebody who's not a fit for your company and then fired them. You wasted your money. You got to hire people knowing that, hey, for maybe the first month, I'm going to be getting some low quality appointments. After that, I need to start seeing these things step up. And in reality, it's only about the first 2 weeks that you might have some lower quality appointments, and then it will start stepping up. So those are just some of the tips that I have for you guys, so that way you can be more successful. If you would like to rent one of my callers, you absolutely can. I'll drop a link down below. We have a program called rentacaller.com. I think it's go.rentacaller.com. And you can rent one of our callers for the week. have them setting appointments for your agency. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this, do me a favor, click subscribe down below, and have an amazing day.